What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast for yet another week of the Star Wars Exchange. So, yeah, how we going, Mike?
Hey, we got a different episode cooking up today, and I'm really excited to talk about what we have planned.
For sure. Yeah, as Mike alluded to, it was a bit of a slow news week. We sort of spoke about last week. You know, we want to cover the news, but this week we really felt like there was nothing of substance to sort of talk about. So we thought we'd try out something new. So today we're going to be doing a top 5 list, our top 5 favorite episodes of Star Wars Rebels. And like, look, I know what you might be thinking. Oh, top 5, top 10, not really interested. It'll just be more of a general Rebels discussion, and that sort of keeps us, in order, just giving our top 5. So, but we'll just be talking all things Rebels because, Mike and I love Star Wars Rebels so much. So we're just super keen to talk about it. But yeah, obviously this is a very different episode. So let us know what you think, if none of you like it, then we won't do another one in the future. But if you all love it, then maybe we'll do something like this for, Clone Wars or something. So, let us know what you guys think. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you're following us on Instagram at the SW Exchange. All the podcast updates will be put there. So, yeah, that's pretty much everything though. I'm just excited to get into this and talk about Rebels. If you're a video watcher, I'm sure you can see our lovely layout that Mike's done for us, which is looking extra juicy today.
Extra rebel-y.
Yeah, definitely. So, let's get cracking into it though. Mike, what is your 5th favorite Rebels episode? Before you say something, I just got to mention, guys, this is our opinions. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. Tell us, what are your top 5? But don't get angry with us if you don't agree, because you probably won't, which is good. That's why we have opinions. And also, me and Mike don't actually know each other's rankings yet, so there'll be a surprise to us. But let us know your top 5 Rebels episodes, and don't get mad at us for our opinions.
Yeah, that's all. If you're feeling mad, tell us how wrong we are in the YouTube comments, and
actually,
submit your own list.
Maybe do get mad. Actually, we'd love to hear how angry you are. Yeah.
Submit your own list and we'll be fine. But yeah, Ari and I, as Ari said, we don't know each other's lists here. We've always talked about how much we love Rebels, but yeah, I'm excited. I think we have kind of the similar Rebels taste in Rebels, but we kind of like, we have our our opinions and what hit us more than you have your episodes and I have mine. So I'm excited to share and delve into this. So let me start us off with number 5 here. Ooh, okay. Listen, I know this might be number 1 for everybody, but for me, there's a lot of great Rebels episodes, and this is the one that I'm like, I love, and it's in my top 5. I don't need to explain it. It's Twilight of the Apprentice. It's Twilight of the Apprentice. Come on.
I knew you were going to say that immediately as soon as you said it, everyone's going to get angry. Because that's that's a number 1 or 2 for everyone. So
for everyone. And Rebels it was so hard coming up with this list because, like I said, there's so many like really great top tier Rebels episodes, but when you combine them all together, they start like wavering a little. I mean, just because the ones that are really good stand out even more. And this is one of the episodes that stood out to me when putting them, but obviously it's number 5. I think this episode, these 2 episodes here, it's season 2 episodes 21 and 22 if you see it like that. But seriously, this is the like Rebels episode that like so many people talk about still to this day, that they might not have loved Rebels, but they particularly love this episode. And I think this is an example of fan service done right. And fan service ultimately can be a tool to improve your storytelling. And the way the Dave Filoni and the other show creators, the way they utilize that in this season 2 finale, amazing. And then I feel like they really, it's a culmination of what the season was leading up to. And yet there's factors there that are like, ooh, surprise. Oh, look, Maul, he's here. He's hiding like an old man in the depths of the Sith temple. And why is he here? You don't know. We'll explain the comic soon, but he's going to be the enemy
5 years later.
5 years later, but he's going to be an enemy. He's going to be the antagonist of the next season. So I love that it was like just really an expansive, 2 expansive episodes that really opened your mind to what a finale could do and what finale can be. So yeah, this is my number 5. Like I said, it's Twilight of the Apprentice. You got You got Maul versus Kanan. He goes blind completely. Kanan is, as you know, Kanan is my favorite like Star Wars character. His character journey is something that I could relate to a lot. I think all of Rebels, you know, you have all these incredible characters with diverse paths, and you know, they come together and they forge a new path together, and it's like, wow, this is kind of relatable to, you know, a lot of your relationships to the real world and how the outside environment really affects you and affects all of you in different ways and stuff. So talk about this Twilight of the Apprentice, the grueling, the final sequence of the episode, where you're just impacted by the music. You see Vader trudging along. You see Ahsoka walking back into the temple. Why is she going back there? You see, yeah, it's Kanan's blind, and he's just, yeah. Oh God, the finale just hits me, especially the second part to the episode, because part one is cool, setup, feels like a typical Rebels episode, but man, that episode, that part two, that's where everything is. That's the climax. That's 22 minutes of roller coaster fun. So yeah, like I said, there's a lot that happens, and you feel at the end, you see the horror on Ezra's face, and you just feel for him and what he probably is blaming himself for. And yeah, Kanan goes blind. Ahsoka, you don't know what the F happens. So for real, this episode, I feel like these two episodes here were just because of marketing aspects. Disney was like, oh hey, like we're counting it as two episodes, we're counting it as one. So these two episodes go obviously hand in hand together. So this is my number 5. Ari, I want to see what your number 5 is.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I would give my take on Twilight of the Apprentice, but it's safe to say I'll be bringing it up again later. But I agree with everything you said. That was a great just thought process of the whole episode. Loved hearing that. But yeah. Also, as Mike kind of said, like there are just so many good Rebels episodes. It's hard to pick. Like this, it pained me putting this list together because there's so many good episodes that I've left out and probably won't even be brought up. But my number 5 is season 2, episode 17, The Honorable Ones. Man,
wow,
this episode just does everything. Like I think the best episodes of Rebels, or a lot of the best ones, kind of break the mold of like traditional Star Wars animation, and I think this was one of them. I think, you know, another episode which maybe will be talked about later, Trials of the Darksaber, does the same thing where it sort of breaks the mold of a traditional sort of, you know, episode structure where it's like whatever it is, they have to fight the bad guys and then they win. It's more of like it's just pure character development. And I know in the Honorable Ones, they Callus and Zeb have to fight that creature of sorts, but man, this episode is just beautiful. Like it's so good. Like Callus just is a character in season 1 I never thought I would ever care about. I'm blanking on his name, but one of the commanders in Rebels who I think his name's Constantine. It's like someone you just, he's a cool character, but you never really think about him. That's how I thought Callus would be. But man, this episode just flips the script. Like everything they do with Zeb and Callus is just fantastic. It's, you know, it's a great story of redemption, understanding, forgiveness, all this stuff just wrapped into one. And you know, Zeb had always been a cool character in season 1. He really got to shine. But this is his best episode by far, by an absolute mile. And it sets up one of the greatest storylines in the series, which is Callus's redemption. So, man, I love this episode. I could talk about it all day. The ending scene where our good friend Parks actually talked about this episode fantastically in his Rebels breakdown, but where Callus comes back to the Empire and he just has nothing. He's on that Star Destroyer. He goes into his room and there's nothing there. All he has is that glowing rock that he found with Zeb, you know? So just, oh man, everything. And it also shows like the importance of like the Rebels family when Zeb is reunited. And I just love that they, like, you know, Ezra is actually my favorite character, and I'm going to touch on that a lot more later on, but I'm so glad that they just decided, you know what, we don't need to see Ezra this episode. We don't need to see Kanan. Obviously they're in it for, you know, the opening and ending sequence, but it's like, let's really look at Zeb here, a character that not everyone loves, but it's like, man, this was just something else. And I need to stop because I could just go all day. But yeah, I love this episode.
Dang, this is a. I guess it's not a spoiler to say that this episode is not on my ranking on my top 5, but I did when I was pulling the list together. I wrote it down at some point. So yeah, a good episode, and the standout moment for me in this episode, obviously you pointed out, but also was it gave us just perspective and into Callus's character, and not all the bad guys are. I mean, they're bad, but it's like maybe some there's moments of hope for them, to put them on a new path, as I was mentioning earlier. And when he was talking about his grueling experience with Saw Gerrera, wow, just like I said, gave you perspective, and it just gave you a whole new light and into his character and the way he cared about his comrades, and being like they were like gunned down like animals and stuff, slaughtered by Saw Gerrera and his men. It's like, ooh, and here we thought Saw Gerrera, from Clone Wars was at the time all we knew was Saw Gerrera and Clone Wars, and I think he made like a line debut, or like a line in like one of the Star Wars books, like Bloodline or something, like a reference. But like this episode, it's like, oh, we're getting some little inklings of Saw Gerrera's character here. So what's going on? And I really, really, really like this episode. So Ari, I hope no one hates you for that. It deserves to be on this
I know
list.
it's not a traditional pick, but something you said, Mike, that also reminded me of something I love. It kind of shows with Callus is like, yeah, you can do bad things, but that doesn't mean you're a bad person. There's always room for you to not even redeem yourself, but just, you're always at a crossroads. And Callus, from this point, it's his crossroads. Do I just continue going with the Empire, or do I try and make a difference? And that's the point where he decides, I'm going to try and make a difference, starts working for the rebels. I don't know how soon it was, but it sort of just really shows you do a bad thing, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. There's always room for you to redeem yourself. And that's why Callus is one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time, honestly. His journey is just immaculate. But
yes.
Mike, tell us, what is at number 4 for you?
No, I'm scared. All right, number 4. We got season 3, episode 15, Trials of the Darksaber. Come on. This is one that I didn't, upon watching, I was like, wow, this is a really good episode. But then something happened to me in my life where it just made me reflect on some things, some events going on around me, on the environment. And I happened to be rewatching Rebels, and I stumbled upon this moment. And that moment that Sabine has where she's striking Kanan down, talk about getting tears in your eyes. I mean, the way they were opening up her character, and you just saw how layered she was. Holy cow. I mean, forget about, being also Mandalorian and the burden that brings, or even the treasure trove of like history that you have in there. Forget that. Just the emotional level to her. Wow. It was literally an analogy to her would be an onion. Like you just, there's all these layers. The more you go. So yeah, Sabine was a character that was introduced in Rebels. And obviously when they debuted her or whatever at some like New York Comic-Con, they like debuted her toy or cover art on like some toy packaging, and it's like, oh, she's Mandalorian. Is she connected to Bo-Katan? Is she connected to this? There's all these questions, but like that, her connection, her family connection, or her connection to Mandalore, or her mother's connection to Bo-Katan wasn't even the most interesting thing about the character, which is crazy because usually that's what fans like look for and stuff. But the way she's written in this show, and as you were saying about Callus, like, oh, yeah, he was there, and you probably didn't even give a second thought about him. That's kind of how I felt about Sabine. And then season 2 just kind of started getting us on the trail of caring about her, her past with that one bounty hunter, Ketsu. And then you keep, like I said, she's an onion. You keep going along, and you just, the deeper you go, the more it's going to make you cry. So when we get to Sabine and the Darksaber, wow, you talk about addressing your past, facing your demons, getting all that stuff out of your closet and having to deal with it. Sabine, I love that character, and that Kanan's my favorite Star Wars character, like I said. So seeing him having to not teach the traditional Jedi way to Sabine, but like having to adapt into a different way, and having her explore those demons, because usually the Jedi they don't do that. They don't do any of that demon exploration. So it's like, no, let it out, Sabine. And yeah, very powerful moment. And I love seeing him connect with the dark saber, or Sabine connect with the dark saber. And yeah, that very fascinating duel. And this is, as you were saying about breaking the traditional like mold of a Rebels episode. Yeah, this episode did it pretty spot on, and leaving you with wiping some tears away by the end for real. So, do you like this episode? What's up, Ari?
Yeah, no, I love this episode so much. I will say it didn't make my list. It was pretty much next in line though. I love this episode pretty much for, you know, similar reasons as to why I love the honorable ones. As you said, you know, facing your past and sort of deciding where you want to go with your future, taking everything you've learned from your past and going forward. So, you know, and yeah, with Kanan as well, I love what the episode sort of had to say about teaching. Just yeah, so even Ezra in the episode I thought was great. He, by the end, he really like was there for Sabine, and like, because I know a lot of people want to like Sabine and Ezra to, you know, have a romantic relationship, but I thought it was really fantastic to see that just a male and a female character just like being like really supportive friends, you know, because that's not something we traditionally see. So I really loved by the end of the episode, Ezra sort of just came around and was like, he was I can't remember the exact line, but he kneels down and then they all do, and oh, it's just fantastic. Fen Rao as well was cool in the episode, and yeah, man, just a great episode. So yeah, I mean that's all I have to say. But it didn't make my list, but still amazing.
Dang, show's number 3 then. I want to see what this one is.
Well, no, my number four.
Oh yeah, your number 4. Yeah.
Is season 2, episode 11, Legacy. Man, this episode is unreal. And you know, I remember when it came out, I thought it was fantastic, but I saw a lot of people not getting behind it, thinking it was boring, all this stuff. But as I said, my favorite Star Wars character is actually Ezra, and this is just one of those Ezra episodes where that character just gets like the development and the exploration that is just so necessary, and like it's done so well. Like the standout of the episode to me is of course that final scene where Ezra finds out his parents have died in a jail sort of riot. And then he has that moment, and the soundtrack. Oh my God, the soundtrack. Don't even get me started. But he's up there. His parents come to him like through the Force. And this episode like really sets up the rest of Rebels for me. And like, you know, they almost tell him like, you know, look at what Lothal could be. You know, have a look at this. And this is your world. And then from that moment, it's like Ezra's almost just striving to get to that. And he gets there by the end of the series, you know, obviously making the ultimate sacrifice, but he gets there. And I just love that this episode like foreshadowed everything to come in such a beautiful way. And it's not just that ending sequence, as good as that was. Also, when Kanan comes in at the end and the twin moons are there, sensational. Just the show just looked so beautiful. I know people love to rag on like, oh, the animation is crap, whatever. Sure, but some of the shots that this show has is sensational, and that was one of them. But also the start of this episode I thought was really good, when Ezra is just so eager to get back to Lothal. He's screaming like, "You're not going to get in my way." You know, Kanan has to sort of get him in check and everything, but even still, and I also just loved how like, you know, that supportive family, sort of everyone just like wanted to help Ezra. Like everyone in the Ghost Crew just genuinely wanted to help and support him, you know, find his parents or whatever it was. So also I think it was our first time back to Lothal in like 10 episodes, and I just love Lothal. So being back there was great. It was our introduction to Ryder Azadi, who I think is a really cool character. And I know that, you know, there's in the middle of the episode, there's sort of, you know, they're chasing a Loth cat. It's not that you know, interesting, but even still, this episode is so well bookended, and as someone who's just in love with Ezra, it's just the perfect episode for me. And I assume this isn't in your top 5, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode, Mike.
Yeah, spoiler alert, not in my top 5. I didn't even jot it down when I was taking down looking at browsing through the episodes. I didn't write it down, but this is one that I think is a really, really solid episode. I think it was like the mid-season finale for season 2 before it went on break. Yeah. Talk about like getting the rebels off of Grell. That was very cool. I mean, as you said, the opener or the opening like sequence was cool with, you know, Ezra being like, "Oh my god, like what's the surprise you guys have for me?" And then like being eager to go, and Hera's like, "Hey, hey, hey, we're ready to go with you, but like know that we're here for you." So
Yeah.
when you want to go, let's go, but let's not go crazy. I love that, like that mom to son moment, even though he was gonna go find his real mom. You know, that
Yeah.
was really touching.
Oh
Um,
man, I just got
and
chills when you said that.
no, so as you said, that family dynamic is so I think the way the series handles that is found family, just epic, epic. So yeah, this was one of those moments where I loved, and especially you get that he's like filled with rage once the
Mm,
Inquisitors, he finds out like the Imperials are after him and like stopping him
yeah.
from going to Lothal.
Mm,
That moment that Kanan and him have when that exchange with like this what was it, the seventh sister? I always want to say second
yeah.
sister, I think of Fallen Order, but seventh
Yeah.
sister, that exchange, that brutal exchange to have with verbally, of course, and he's running towards her after she
And
says
then
like, "Come
yeah,
and prove it," and he's like running to her, and then Kanan
he's
shoots the
oh
door with his
yeah. I
blaster,
love
and
that
he's
he
like,
was just so ready to do that. He's like, I don't care because that's just
mhm,
relatable. It's like when you're that like, you know, when you have that tunnel vision, it's like this is where I'm going and I'm getting there. It's like he will do whatever it is, and he would have just got himself killed. So, you
yeah,
know, as you're saying, like just that support coming in from Kanan, like just shows
no,
the fantastic dynamic between the
and
characters.
what's funny is I guess since this is a little episode that we're just like you know, chilling and talking about Rebels and stuff, you know, it's funny, Ari and I have talked about how much, you know, even have we talked about like our personal like friendship and stuff, and we like, oh yeah, like yeah, my favorite character is Kanan, and then Ari would be like, oh yeah, you resemble this of Kanan, I'll be like, you resemble this of Ezra. So we've kind
Yeah.
of built this like um master and apprentice type
Mm,
relationship. So,
yeah.
you know, it's going back and watching some of these episodes, I'm just like, wow, that is me and Ari. That is me and Ari
It's
right there.
true. It's
Sometimes
true. Yeah.
Ari will be very impulsive, like Ezra in that moment. I'll be like, no, no. All right, listen, you gotta listen for a sec, stop and think. But no,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, yeah, this is a great episode. And the moment, oh my gosh, Ari, the moment where Ryder says, "Yes, son, they're dead,"
Yeah.
or or Ezra's like, I was about to say Ari. Ezra's like, they're dead, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes. And then he
Yeah.
just breaks down,
It's
cry like he's like starting to
heartbreak.
sob and being like,
Yeah.
you know, they taught me, and he just starts going into it, and then he starts like crying into
Mm.
his knees, and you see Chopper like off, kind of almost off frame. Chopper's like, or at the very corner, it's like patting him or extending his arm
Oh,
in camaraderie, and it's
there's
like, oh my
that
god,
still just gets me every time.
it,
Just
oh,
Chopper's little arm on his knee.
and then the
That's
next
yeah.
shot is that Lion King, you know, mountain
Yeah.
or ridge that they're on,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Ezra's there, and Kanan comes up to him, and oh man, that, and yeah, so this is, I'm kind of upset now that I didn't put it on my, at least when I was thinking about the episodes, because this is a really good episode. So
Yeah.
yeah,
The
good
final
on
thing
you.
I'd say is just like I don't I won't talk about this episode for half an hour, but the way it shows, you know, dealing with grief and loss is just it's just chef's kiss stuff. Like,
Yes.
yeah, it's done to perfection. But man, that episode, just thinking about and talking about it is just an emotional roller coaster for me. But yeah, one episode. Mike, though, tell us number three. We're all excited to know.
Well, we got another two-parter here. Season 4. Oh, actually, it's not a two-parter because I'm only focusing on the one side. Or I didn't even think about it just because this one's so different than the first part. Interesting. I wonder how people will react to this.
Yeah.
Well, when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about this specific episode. So I will say it. Season 4, episode 13, A
Mm,
World Between Worlds. This is another episode that people in the fandom go, wow, that is quite the episode. That's quite the Star Wars storytelling. And this is just a highlight of why Star Wars Rebels is a goated series and
yeah.
is the best Star Wars storytelling ever. Period. Um, I mean, holy cow, this episode couldn't happen with a whole without like, you know, other episodes like Jedi Knight or Twilight of the Apprentice. but here we are in this episode. Also, obviously, credit to I think the previous episode is called like Wolves in the Door or something.
Yeah.
So obviously we thankful for that episode too, but I'm focusing
Yeah.
on World Between
Well,
Worlds.
just to note, like, I think you're thinking of them two in the same, because like when they were releasing these, they all dropped in two. So these two episodes dropped on the same night.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, just because I like, yeah. So I guess, I mean, I guess this one is definitely stronger than the first one, like,
Yeah, no,
like
definitely.
tenfold. But the previous one obviously was just set up, so this one could be great. So I guess, or yeah, I would have to consider that one up in here. But yeah, A World Between Worlds. I don't even know where to start with this one, just because, like I said, it's just epicness all throughout. And this is the one that when I was jotting the episodes down of what I considered, because again, for some reason, I always look at this episode, even though, as you said, they both dropped on the same night. This is the episode that I look at individually because of its final sequence. And it's one that I go back to and back to and back to. And I find every time I watch that ending sequence with Ezra and Hera looking off into the distance, and where Kanan and Ezra's journey truly began as master and apprentice at that Jedi temple, gone, demolished, destroyed, evaporated. When they're looking off into the sunset, and Hera like clasps her hand over Ezra and is like, he's gone, isn't he? Like, really gone. And that is, talk about, as you were saying, grief and loss. Talk about that being so like it was just it was just so
stop
relatable.
Giving me chills.
Sorry, that's all of Rebels though.
Keeps tingling.
It's all of Rebels. It's all of Rebels. I mean, man, these creators must have been through some stuff, because I wasn't really affected by the episode when I watched it, but when that year I experienced loss, and the next year loss and loss, it was just something that I kept coming back to and being like, wow, this is so real, genuine. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, that moment where it was just like, he's gone, isn't he? Like asking but already knowing the answer. I think that's what we all do when we lose someone. It's like you go through these stages of grief, and then at one point you're like, wow, they're gone. So yeah, no, that really, really awe-striking moment of just pain. I sob every time I watch the scene, as I said, and Ezra being like, yes, him confirming that and accepting it and moving on, and Hera, gives him his time, she leaves, and I'm like, they really never got to say goodbye to Kanan. So I feel like I'm getting chills right now. This is their moment of like saying goodbye to him, like I said. And when Ezra's looking off at the distance at that wolf, I could just see it. I could hear the music, and the music's building up and starting to swell up, and he's like,
so good. Yeah.
Goodbye, Kanan. And he walks off, and it just I want to go, oh man.
And then it just kicks into gear. Yeah.
It just kicks into gear.
I gotta say, this episode isn't on my list, as I say, it's tight, but this is a top 3 Star Wars Rebels moment, like this scene you're talking about. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. Like literally, as I say, when you're talking about it, just goosebumps. Like it's done to perfection.
And I know everyone's like fascinated by when Ezra's walking into that like mystic realm, and you hear all the voices, and that was, talk about a very cool moment. It just brought all of Star Wars. Listen, I run an account on Instagram, Star Wars community, called All Star Wars. I love moments like these where it's like just a culmination of everything that Star Wars has been up to that moment. So that was really pleasing. But like, and even Ahsoka popping up and then having to face the Emperor, and oh my God, talk about another moment with that Ezra has, but with Ahsoka, and it's Ahsoka being like, I can't save my master, and you can't save yours. Yeah. And then Ezra's like, you don't know what you're asking me to do. Having that moment again, like he did with Kanan and on Gorel, and then Ahsoka being like, I'm asking you to let go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. These guys need to win like what's the equivalent here? Grammys or not Grammys? I forgot. Saturn Awards, something like that, because the writing, oh my gosh. Yeah, this episode was filled to the brink with amazing crying out loud moments. So that was another moment that I was just struck by, and being like, I could so relate to this, what I've experienced in life, or that's another line that I'm like, dang, you guys just really. So yeah, I think this one, I would love to put it a little bit higher up on the list, but I think this is a perfect spot for it. Like I said, you get Ahsoka back in there, and she's been through a day. She fought in within a day span. She fought Maul, she fought Vader, she fought Palpatine. That's crazy. The Inquisitors. So she's living, she's thriving. So another cool moment. And yeah, Ezra being like, come find me. Yeah, I promise I will. And she just never does, like in that moment, like, because then it just would have been like, oh hey, what's up? Or like they would have already met or something. I don't know I don't know how to break it down for y'all. But it's cool that it was like epic foreshadowing of what's to come. So yeah, this episode, goated episode, as Ari said. That ending sequence though, top 3 Rebels moments for sure.
Yeah. I regret not putting it in. Like I don't, because these 5 I love so much. But yeah, what a stellar episode. And like season 4, people kind of had expected, we're gonna like see like Lothal sort of, they'll try and reclaim it. It's like, whoa, and then this just came out and I was like, okay. Like it would just once again Rebels just flipped the script. So that was awesome. But I guess I'll get into my number 3, which is the season 1 finale, Fire Across the Galaxy. This episode is everything to me. And I kind of want to say that the sort of season 1 finale arc, those final 3 episodes, because this episode is nothing without Call to Action. Call to Action, I didn't put on the list just because kind of blends into this episode. Like I will say it's Fire Across the Galaxy, but just to speak on Call to Action for a second, that episode is unreal. Kanan sacrificing himself for the greater good. Ezra's message to the people of Lothal, and like I think that goes out to the Outer Rim, and we find out in, I think, Legacy that Ezra's parents heard that message. So that was such a powerful moment. Rebel Resolve, I think, is episode the next one. That one's great as well. Not as good as these 2, but that one's cool. And then, man, Fire Across the Galaxy. So many good moments. I think that when I was writing this episode down, the moment I instantly thought of is when the Inquisitor throws Ezra down to the next platform, and it's kind of alluded to that Kanan thinks he's just killed him, and then Kanan says that was a mistake. Inquisitor says why, and he says because now I have nothing left to fear, and I just that just strikes home with me every time, and like. Because that's what it boils down to. Being a Jedi is about letting go of your fear and all that. And it's like, to me, this is this like moment for Kanan of like, okay, you've just done that. Like, cannot believe you've just done that. But like, look at me now. Look at how I'm going to respond to that. I have nothing left to fear. And of course, he defeats him. Inquisitor has the iconic line of oh god, what is it? There are some things far more frightening than death, which obviously alluded to Vader. Like, man, how good. And then one of the most iconic talked about Star Wars moments ever, Ahsoka Tano walking down the race of the Ghost. Like, people don't talk about this enough. This was like, because we've had so many crazy Star Wars moments lately, this was just like insane at the time. Like, who would have seen this coming? And then of course Vader at the end, like actually coming in after being alluded to earlier. But man, I love season 1 of Rebels, and this was the perfect conclusion to that season. Man, like once again, could talk about it forever, but what an episode. What do you think of it?
First, 2 behind the scene things I want to address. This episode premiered, let's see, 2013, like 2 years on the date, like exactly 2 years after the finale to Clone Wars season 5. So we saw Ahsoka leave, and then we saw Ahsoka re-enter, which happened apparently according to Dave Filoni, happened miraculously. It wasn't planned or anything. It just happened on the whim. So that was very cool. Or just happened unplanned. And then also, I hated it. No, I didn't hate this finale, but I was just like, why would ABC's Good Morning America, they dropped an exclusive that Monday of that week of the finale, because I think the finale would come out on Wednesday or something. I don't know, but like days ahead, they released like some type of like, ooh, we got an exclusive, and it was that James Earl Jones was returning to Star Wars, and it was going to be in the Rebels finale. and everybody was theories was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna like are Kanan, because what's this implication with Mustafar? Why is it so important? Is Vader there? Are they going down to, at the time Vader's castle didn't exist. This was, but they were obviously planning things for Rogue One, so this was one of the things that they weaved into this story, being like, oh, Vader's down there, but we're not gonna reveal that until Rogue One. So it was like, or are they gonna find some type of Mustafar base? Like, what's Vader doing there? So everyone thought that Vader and Kanan were gonna fight, and I was like, yes, bring it. No, this, as you were saying, I was gonna say Ezra. Oh my god, as you were saying, Ari, I really think that Inquisitor duel with just Kanan and the Inquisitor was so powerful, impactful. Yeah, that was awesome. That was awesome. And as you said, the dialogue was everything. I prefer the season finale, the season finales for Rebels than I do for Clone Wars, just because this, like, as you said, this, like, they like tie up the season at the end and stuff like that. And I remember at the time this episode came out, I was like, wow, this is everything. This is, talk about a finale. I remember being like, so far, I think this is the best Star Wars finale it's ever done for its animation properties. It's just the best. And people called me crazy and all these things. But we, as you said, we're looking back at these episodes and being like, this isn't talked about enough, you know? And it really sets up amazing things for season 2 and has a lot of powerful moments. I love like the little like action sequences we get and the little like Tarkin scene that we get, and he's like, we're supposed to get like response from the Star Destroyer and we haven't gotten one in 5 minutes, send reinforcements, and this cool action sequences. And then you get Ezra on the comm calling Fulcrum in, and then Fulcrum, you know, like, this is Fulcrum, who is this? It's like, oh, everything's coming together. So talk about a finale. I did, when I was scrolling through, I did put it on my list, but it just didn't make top 5. But seriously, as Ari was saying, season 1 is, I just love that season. Before podcasting here, Ari and I were talking about how much we love season 1. So this is just an example of amazing Star Wars action, amazing Star Wars dialogue, amazing dialogue, period. So yeah, Ari, I'm with you on that. Good choice.
Definitely. Tell us, number 2, Mike, what is it?
Number 2. All right. All right. Season 3, episode 17, with Through Imperial Eyes. Some of you might be shocked by that, but I love this episode. I was shocked when you said Legacy. I was like, oh, all right, but it makes sense. But this, oh my gosh, this episode, again, I was talking about the dialogue, dude. This episode is so good. And you're talking about Callus redemption. I'm on the edge of my seat every time I watch this episode. Every time, even though I know what happens. Just seeing Callus jumping through hoops, also Thrawn beating up droids and as a workout routine, that was cool. Admiral Yularen is back. This episode had everything for me. Ezra working alongside Callus, and the whole switch up at the end where Ezra was pretending to be Lieutenant Liss. That was everything. And at the end, we finally get that power move from Thrawn, and he's like, yeah, here's this helmet, and this looks like very familiar artwork. And why didn't Callus tell us about this? And then him and Yularen have this cool exchange, and then Thrawn's like, that is why I'm here. And perfect. This is an episode that lives rent free in my head, as they would say. I think about this episode all the time, and it's just a fun one that I love to throw on. And I know you were shocked by that, and even now I'm like, damn, this is talking about all the amazing episodes that we've been talking about. I'm like, this one is really on my list, and it's very high up. So yeah, it doesn't hit me on an emotional level as like the other ones per se, but I just love sitting watching this one, and it's just as you know, as I would say on Twitter or something, this is pure cinema. There's like I said, there's a lot of aspects to this episode I love, and on my edge of my seat, you get Captain Rex and Kanan working together, which is always a funny dynamic. And Captain Rex coming through with, you know, his experience with military, and it just gave me Stealth Strike vibes too, of just Kanan and Rex working together, but a lot more smoothly this time. So yeah, lots of coolness in this, and I love how you just had all these familiar characters on the Imperial side coming through. And I thought it was creative storytelling to start off the episode with Callus waking up. And literally, you see it from his perspective. It's like, through Imperial eyes. And fun fact, they were actually thinking about doing this entire episode through Callus's eyes. But they only kept it for like the opening sequence, for the code open, they call it. They only kept it for that, and that was it. But yeah, like I said, this was like, I felt Rebels was at its peak in this moment. It was like, wow, they've really like stepped up their game, and it was finally, after waiting so long in season 3 of Rebels, being like, when is Thrawn gonna act? When is Thrawn gonna act? When is Thrawn gonna connect the dots? And he finally did, and he did in a way that was so class, so evil, and yeah, that was very cool, very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think of this episode? You were shocked?
I mean, it was when I was writing down episodes, I definitely wrote this one down. Yeah, it's a fantastic episode. I know my brother's a massive Thrawn fan, and I know he loves this one. So
let's go, Jasper.
Yeah, it definitely appeals to all the Thrawn fans and Callus fans for sure, including myself. Yeah, I mean, this episode really has everything to me. Like, and also there was a bit of humor as well with I'm forgetting her name. Oh, Governor Price, where they were like, Lieutenant List is trying to take her down. Like, that was genuinely funny to me. I know a lot of the Rebels humor is like really childish, which isn't a bad thing. You know, the show's got to appeal to kids, but this was like genuinely made me chuckle so much. But yeah, no, I agree. It's a great episode. It's not in my top 5, but what a fantastic episode. And yeah, this is just another one where Callus just really shines. And Thrawn, I would say this is probably his first one where you're like, wow, okay, like that's how good he is, you know, at his doing his job. So it almost makes you fear him. Yeah.
I think Hera's heroes, I was looking at the episode and I was thinking of Thrawn's awesomeness in there, where but he only begins to act. But as you said, you don't see that in his full glory almost, or at least getting there, really like fearing him is in this episode, but he shines in 0 Hour. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Where are we up to? My number 2? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
what rivals this in your opinion? What you got on number 2?
So we've already talked about it today, but Twilight of the Apprentice, the season 2 finale. As Mike said, I held back my takes. I wanted to unload it here, but this is like, yeah, this is just pure Star Wars awesomeness right here. Like this episode is everything, man, and it all falls on the heels of Ahsoka versus Vader. Like, what, like I have never felt so, you know. Actually, I have, but this duel brings up the same emotions that I felt when I'm watching Return of the Jedi, Luke versus Vader. You know, it's that sort of thing, and so many iconic lines. I am no Jedi, then you will die. All this stuff, like, man, and like also when Vader his helmet, he's saying Ahsoka, and it switches up into like Matt Lanter's voice and stuff. Man, so good. But yes, like so many good moments. I don't want to harp on it too much because Mike already told us earlier how all the cool moments. But yeah, Kanan getting blinded, and yeah, it really sets up season 3 with Darth Maul and wraps up season 2 really well with Vader. All the Inquisitors bite the dust, which was kind of, I thought they would lead something more, but they just seemed to never go anywhere. So I was like, you know what, yeah, good on you, Darth Maul. Just get him out of the show for us. But man, and Malachor as a setting, that was the planet, right? Yeah, it was just Malachor was just awesome. Even I loved the Darth Vader versus Ezra, which lasted about 2 seconds. But yeah, and then also Chopper with Kanan wearing that mask and Chopper like guiding him with his hand like a blind man. Loved that moment. And then like something that just makes this episode everything outside of the Ahsoka duel is that final like 2 minutes where like there's that the music is playing. We're going through seeing where all the characters are at now. Vader's walking out of the temple, and we see, I think Morai is its name. And oh man, even when Rex and Ezra have that eye contact, like knowing that Ahsoka's gone, that was just something else. And then that massive cliffhanger of Ezra opening the Sith holocron, which was like, oh, okay, Even though that storyline really didn't go anywhere, it lasted like another 2 episodes. Even still, because we sat on that for like 6 months, it was like Ezra is going to the dark side. Like, but yeah, just one episode. I think everyone just loves this episode. It's just so universally loved, and as Mike said, people that don't like Rebels still love this episode because it's just fantastic. And as I love to say, chef's kiss. So good. But man, I was gonna say we should get number one, but before we do, we want to give honorable mentions because obviously there are so many good Rebels episodes. We won't spend forever talking about all of them, but Mike, tell us a few of your honorable mentions.
Definitely. So these are in no particular order. I'm just gonna name them, and Ari and I agreed to 3, but I snuck in another one in here. So it's Twin Suns, Shroud of Darkness, Empire Day, and Spark of Rebellion.
Wow. Shout out Empire Day.
Empire Day is so, what I would say about this, Twin Suns, probably in people's top 5s. Spark of Rebellion almost made it here. Just, I think it's my most rewatched Rebels episode, just because at the beginning when all we had was Spark of Rebellion for like a split second, or they released it on DVD right away too. I would just rewatch it. I remember one time me and my cousins and my brother, we put it on in my grandma's basement and we watched it once. And we had such a good time with it that we just put it on again and sat through and watched it again. And I'm pretty sure we almost decided to watch it a 3rd time, but we had to go somewhere. But Spark of Rebellion just brings it all back into the original trilogy type feeling, yet making it feel fresh and new. So Spark of Rebellion, shout out Spark of Rebellion. Love it. And also great. It was so cool because I remember thinking about I thought by the point when we meet them, they were all going to be like, they were already going to be a team and such. So seeing like that Ezra's like slow incorporation to the group was really cool. And it was just really exciting. And it set up a lot of amazing premises for what the show could do. So, which obviously fulfilled all of it. But love that. And Empire Day is another one along with Through Imperial Eyes that I just put on. And I'm like, I just want some good like Star Wars action, Star Wars with great Star Wars storytelling. I throw that on. You get I think about this sequence all the time where Ezra, he's like, why are they looking for Sibo? And he's up on his radio tower, just hands on the ledge, and you have this amazing music playing and being like, why are they looking for Sibo? Scared about the group finding out about his past, and he's trying to run away from it. And he's just with Sibo's inclusion in the story, he's like thrown back into the past. So having to face some of the music there. The amazing episode, and you also get like some cool highway chase, which is awesome. So love that episode. And then the last one I'll say is Shroud of Darkness. Holy cow, another one that I'm just. I don't know how they crammed all this epicness in literally 22 minutes. Amazing first the opening sequence was great. Then you get Ahsoka talking about Anakin to Kanan and Ezra, or to Ezra alone, and then all the stuff that happens at the temple. I'm like, how did they make this so impactful in 22 minutes? So Star Wars live action, you should look at Star Wars Rebels and Clone Wars and see what you could pack in a short amount of time. But Ari, let's hear your honorable mentions.
Well, we touched on it before, say Trials of the Darksaber. We already talked about it, but one episode. Fight or Flight. This one, oh my god, I want to put it in the top 5 so bad, but I just knew I would probably have someone come to my house and and yell at me for it. But this episode is literally everything to me. This is the most comfortable piece of media I think I've ever watched in my life. If I'm ever having a rough day, anything, I put Fight or Flight on. I know literally the premise of the episode is Zeb and Ezra need to find a piece of fruit. And they made that into 20 minutes of just pure Star Wars fun. Like, I could talk about this episode forever. People get annoyed at me about how much I love it. Like, it's just so good to me. Like, but as I say, Rebels is probably like my favorite Star Wars show, and Ezra's my favorite character. So it's like it feels like just hanging out with Ezra for 20 minutes with Zeb, and I love their the brotherly how would you say that brotherly relationship that they have. Reminds me a lot of my own, to be honest. But it's just I need to stop now before I go too far.
Can I say something about Fight or Flight?
Go.
Ari and I have gushed over this episode so many times. It's not even funny. Yeah, I think this falls close to being my most rewatched episode for Rebels, just because, as Ari was saying, have a bad day, feeling down, you put this episode on, and it's glorious. And I love. Oh, and you even have these like small moments with Ezra just in the fields of Lothal, the music, just laying the music. It's just the vibe. It's just the vibe.
It's just the vibe.
It's just the vibe.
Couldn't have said it any better myself. Other honorable mentions: Path of the Jedi, season 1, episode 10, I think. Ezra gets his Kyber crystal. That really sets up the Ezra and Kanan dynamic was already great, but that was where it was like Mike even said it earlier. That is where it really starts to build. Even we get Frank Oz coming back as Yoda, I'm pretty sure. So, man, Path of the Jedi, what an episode! And then one I just have to mention: Siege of Lothal, fantastic. Vader at his best. Lothal. Going through, you had to go through the dark times to get that awesome finale at the end, and I feel like this is where we really saw it at its worst. So, yeah, shout out to all those episodes. But Mike, it's time. It's time for all to be revealed. Number 1 episode of Rebels. Take it away.
All right, you basically introduced my number 1, and that is Siege of Lothal, season 2, episodes 1 and 2. This is a movie. This is everything. I literally thought I was scared with season 2 with the inclusion of all these Clone Wars characters, and I was really scared for that. And I was like, yeah, season 2 is not going to top season 1, but which it didn't, in my opinion. But you get this amazing piece of 40 minutes or something, 42 minutes, 43 minutes, 44, something like that. But yeah, it's just an event. To put it bluntly, it's an event. Everything with Vader, everything with the characters coming back. You're thrown in the thick of it, to be honest, because it literally starts off with them going on like a supply run, and it's like you get to see how the dynamics are lining up with their new military squadron, and you get some downtime with Kanan being like, "Yeah, I never said I want to be fighting a war," and as Hera's like, guess what? They saved your life. And she's like, well, doesn't mean I want to join the little army. So yeah, I love those like reality moments that they had. And somewhere with it, like you could see Ezra and Zeb were having the time of their life with these guys, and Kanan wasn't vibing with it. And even Sabine, when things got tough, she was like, we could go back to Lothal and hide down, or hide, take the ghost somewhere and hide for a little bit. Like, we don't gotta be fighting their war. So yeah, it was very, very just brought everything back. And this is the episode that if someone's like, I want to get into Rebels, but I don't know where to start here. I think this is, even though I would be like, man, I really want to show you how great Spark Rebellion is. This is the episode that is just purely like, you watch this and it's just pure adrenaline, what you're watching, and you just get that. And dude, the ending dogfight with Vader going in, wiping out the entire Rebel fleet, or at least their flagship. And yeah, just, oh my God, this episode is so beautiful. And it feels like a goodbye, a nice goodbye to Lothal, being like, well, yeah, it's not working out here. We're going to leave. And I remember it dropped in like almost middle of summer of 2015, so that was, it was the event of the summer in my books. Yeah. So yeah, Siege of Lothal, goated episode. Even me trying to talk about it so undersells what amazing, impactful 44 minutes of beautifulness that it is. But yeah, also you get Sam Witwer, Palpatine, come on. And a lot of Vader, him telling him about Kenobi and Ahsoka and Yoda.
And the apprentice lives.
The apprentice lives. That moment, yeah, it has everything for me, to be honest.
Lives.
So
yeah. No.
Well,
so Ari? Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a fantastic episode, a solid number 1 choice. But yeah,
what's yours? I'm curious.
Man, okay, I've definitely told you before. You've probably just forgotten, but I will say it's been mentioned today, and I think people are just not going to be happy with me. It's fair to say. But this episode, I realized I describe a lot of things like this, but this episode is everything to me. This is probably my favorite oh man, I don't know if I can even say this without getting yelled at, but this is probably my favorite 40 minutes of Star Wars to exist. Iron Squadron. No, I'm joking. Spark of the Rebellion, the
Wow.
opening to the greatest Star Wars show of all time. Of course, the opening to the greatest Star Wars show is going to be some of the greatest Star Wars ever, right? No, but look, I think context is important for this one. No, I've always loved Star Wars. I'm relatively young, I'd say. So I was at a very young, impressionable age when Rebels began, and I watched the Clone Wars when I was really young, and I liked it a lot. However, Rebels is what took my love for Star Wars that next step further. It's what made me wanting to start reading the books, the comics. And so I was around 12 or so when this episode came out, and safe to say, I was just blown away. The main character was awesome, Ezra. As I've said, I just love Ezra. Kanan was awesome. Just all the characters were fantastic. The dynamics and just being introduced to this world, just oh my god, it's hard to like articulate it. And I'm sort of underselling it as well of how much I love it, because it's just hard to even say. But man, Mike mentioned it in his honorable mentions. I thought he spoke to the episode quite well. Like, yeah, I think it's so hard to say, but this is just what Star Wars is to me, and I couldn't have thought of a better way to introduce this series. Man, I'm struggling to actually explain how much I love it.
That's how
But,
good it is, though.
this is just
People
it's
gotta
just the best.
understand when we struggle to speak of episodes like that we love like this.
Yeah,
It's because it's amazing, and we're no matter what we say, we're underselling it. So no,
yeah,
no, Ari. As I said, this is the most Star Wars Rebels episode that I've ever rewatched. I mean, as you said,
yeah,
talk about opening the series with a punch, and it's a good ride of Star Wars nostalgia, but with all these new characters, and
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
a
Mm.
really good time with this
It felt
opener.
like a fresh start for Star Wars almost, because my thing with the Clone Wars when I was younger, it's like I already know what happens to Anakin, I already know what happens to Obi-Wan. So Ahsoka was the main draw, but I'm like, now this is Star Wars, but it is a fresh start, and I love it. That's almost what I was thinking as a kid, and yeah, like the dynamics of the characters, like I just can't stress how much I think it's just done to perfection. And it's mainly done with Ezra in this episode. You can see Ezra's relationship with every single character, maybe outside of Chopper in this. He has the mom moment with Hera, father moments with Kanan, and how could we forget? The ending of the episode, Obi-Wan's speech, like being played while we sort of seeing all the characters go about their everyday life, like that just hits you. That just hits you so hard. So yeah, and then Kanan offering for Ezra to come, and he joins, and like this is just, yeah, as I say, the greatest introduction into the greatest Star Wars show, which is Star Wars Rebels. No disrespect to the other shows, I love all the Star Wars shows, but Rebels is definitely my favorite, and I love season 1, and I think this just gives off that vibe more than anything of just Star Wars fun, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, doesn't it? Just a bit of Star Wars fun, and
Star Wars
yeah.
fun. Yeah,
But that's pretty much everything I have to say about it. It's that, and that's our Rebels discussion for you. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. As I said earlier, let us know what you thought of this. We had a lot of fun doing this, so would love to hear what you guys thought. Maybe we can do a similar thing for Clone Wars or something like that. But yeah, that pretty much just about wraps up the episode.
yeah. You heard our thoughts. Now, if you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, make sure you subscribe for more episodes. And if you're on YouTube, especially, hit that like button. Apple Podcasts, give us that 5-star review if you think we deserve it. Leave us a review. Spotify, rate us, and or like us. However, again, I still don't know how that works. But YouTube, let us know how we're doing on our episodes, and let us know what your top 5 Rebels episodes are. I mean, I can already see some of your lists, but I'm very intrigued into what yours will be. It's always nice to have these downtime moments of just like reflecting, because we're on an ongoing pace with Star Wars that just never stops. So it's nice to like sit down and reflect on what we've experienced and how much of it has affected us. And we, as Ari was saying about like fight or flight, we could turn that into a 2-hour discussion if we really wanted to and break it down, but we kept it brief today. Maybe we'll do that another time, but for real, for more Star Wars Rebels talk, follow us at our Instagram handles, and make sure to follow us on our Instagram page, because we're almost at we have like almost 50 followers, I think. But follow us there, because we are going to be posting. Run those numbers up. We're going to be posting clips from the podcast and just other things. But Ari, meanwhile, they're watching Rebels or Clone Wars right now while we're in this downtime period of Star Wars. Where can people find you to keep up with the conversations?
Yep, follow me on Instagram at Star Wars_exchange and Twitter at the SW Exchange. And as Mike said, do not forget, follow us on Instagram at the SW Exchange. And we will post all sorts of stuff about the podcast. And can't wait.
All right. And as for me, you can follow me @all_Star Wars on Instagram, Twitter. Ari and I will be putting together a collaboration post of our Rebels episodes some days after the podcast is aired, just so we won't spoil our picks. But look for that out there. You can drop your top 5 Rebels episodes in there. But seriously, if you like this, let us know, and we might do even a Resistance one. No, I'm just kidding. We might do a Clone Wars one, but you never know. All right, guys. That's it for us. Till next time, may the Force be with you. Adios.
See ya.